So yes, today we're talking about Agile Learning, and we're linking this to Aspire, as always, and this is the I of Aspire. It's about improvement and development of your people. And we say it's been a cornerstone process of bridging the gaps between the knowledge and skills needed for your people to drive people talent and business growth in your organization. Agile Learning, it's a nice phrase. We want to talk about this to drive people, talent, and business growth. And we really see this as being a cornerstone element of your improvement and development plan. So, just to open that up, what do we think Agile Learning is? Do you want to sit and discuss that for a few minutes?
Yeah, well, what does it mean? What does it mean to you when you say Agile Learning? It's a nice term we've come up with, but perhaps everybody doesn't know quite what we mean by Agile Learning.
Yeah. I like to think of Agile Learning as it's that on-demand learning. So rather than waiting for the formalised, I'm going to college, I'm waiting for somebody to send me on a training course. That is not the only way to learn, and Agile learners will be on-demand learners. We've got a huge resource of the internet these days. You want to find something out, you can go there. All right? And not just to find out stuff about social things for your life, but also for your professional life. How do I learn about something on an ongoing basis? So, Agile learning, can I learn something from an experience? Can I take that experience and then find out more about that subject by delving into something on the internet? Can I learn something from a mentor? Could I learn something from a coach? So, Agile, being very flexible, learning as you go. That's how I
Okay,
interpret
so
that.
the key word, I guess, is the flexibility and
Yeah.
having the mindset to want to learn and develop and improve.
Yeah. Did you hear the phrase sometimes a self-starter, a bit of very self-motivated? You tend to think high potentials in your organisation would be those sorts of people you would look at and they find out what they need to find out without somebody putting them on a formalised training course or telling them where to go and look. They will find things out to progress themselves on an ongoing basis and broaden their knowledge, skills, and hopefully behaviours as well.
So I guess it's creating the environment for the people who've got that initiative and those high potentials to actually maximise the opportunity that's put in front of them to actually learn and take it on board to progress their own career.
Yeah, I guess the high potentials would be doing that anywhere, but would certainly be looking for a culture and an organisation to offer that for them, yeah, to get even more of that type of ongoing agile learning. But I think it also applies to not just the high potential, anybody in the organisation, and then for the organisation, we think about its agile learning culture, which we'll come to. So I think that sort of settles it down a bit.
Yeah. Agile learning, I like the phrase. But I guess the question is why? Why would companies want to have agile learning?
Yeah.
What's the purpose behind that?
Well, I think in the ever so now, it's more so now, because the fast changing pace of business and technologies, can we really wait for the next formal training course? And the answer is, well, no, because the time you get to it, it could be out of date anyway. So I think it's always think about in the business, you've got knowledge, skills, and behavioural gaps all of the time. Yeah, all the time, not just every now and then. Consistently, continuous knowledge, skills, and behavioural gaps. If we have to wait to bridge those gaps using formal once every 6 months training, I think maybe that could be just a little bit too late. It's not flexible enough. And we know that lack of investment in people's continuous professional development, particularly for people in talent, it creates this knowledge and skills gap. And that can impact on the business productivity and business performance as well.
Yeah, just talking about productivity in some of those gaps that you've mentioned, certainly here in the UK alone, the Office of National Statistics show the UK, they're almost 20 percentage points down on other G7 nations, certainly in the average. And there's a whole range of different sort of stats within that and reasons why. But certainly it's recognised in the UK that there is a productivity gap. So the more you can improve and develop your people, yes, it'll help you, grow your business, etc. Doing it through those high potentials and the talent, but it should really be performance driven and results driven, to help start closing some of those gaps, particularly with the productivity and improving performance.
Yeah. And I guess those productivity stats, could we correlate those directly to the knowledge, skills, and behavioural gaps? Maybe it's not every percentage point, but there is a direct link between
I'm sure
your people and productivity.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And a lot of the stats as well from engagement surveys, looking at how engaged people are in the business. Then there's correlation now between productivity and levels of engagement. So there's an absolute link there, I'm sure.
Well, one of our next videos will be retention and engagement. We'll look at that and we start open up the statistics on that. But it's reckoned across the globe. Engagement levels are something like 30%.
Yeah.
So 30% engagement levels and productivity is down. There's something going on there. But I think as well, just to focus a little bit more on the high potentials. We've done this before in previous videos. High potentials. This is the talent in your organisation. They want something anyway. Okay, these people are self-starters. They're self-motivated. They're looking for development in all areas, through the organisation, across the organisation, building up their own personal brands, their knowledge, skills, and behaviour. So you want these people to be productive. They will help drive the productivity and business performance.
So I guess what you're saying is, if you're trying to create an environment for agile learning, then you've got to have people who are going to actually have what's necessary to have that learning agility and maximise the opportunity.
Yeah. So, and it brings us on to that phrase of learning agility. And we've said agile learning, it's this sort of flexible approach, on-demand learning approach. Learning agility links to continuous professional development of your knowledge, skills, and behaviours. Knowledge, skills, and behaviours, there will always be a gap. There will always and continually be a gap because technology is moving so fast, the business world is moving so fast. So to be having a culture of agile learning, but the individual having learning agility. And learning agility for the individuals, so some people might just want to have something available to them. There is others, the talent, the high potential, is not a nice to have, it's a must to have. They will bring that learning agility anywhere. I think it's something you'll look for when you're in your acquisition phase of succession planning phase of your high potentials. Have they got this thing called learning agility? And for the organisation, for the business to drive that culture. There's a great article which we'll send the links out to from Korn Ferry, and 5 parts to learning agility. And we're not going to go through those in any fine detail here. You can read it from the article, but what is learning agility for the individual for that high potential? It's mental agility, it's people agility, change agility, result agility, and self-awareness. So if you want more information on that, read the article. It's really good. It delves into a lot of details. And what we'll probably do is run another video at some stage.
Just specifically talk about that.
And we can talk about those things. So learning agility now, rather than agile learning, which is like, it's what we'd like in the culture. Learning agility is about that individual.
And I think as well, Lindsay, to add, in terms of the learning agility, it's what do you look like? And you've mentioned 5 key points from Korn Ferry there that people can have a look. And just in a snapshot, it's trying to think of things to look for in the high potentials, people when you're bringing them in. Things like, have they got a growth mindset? Have they got a desire to be developed? Can they take initiative? Do they want to challenge? Are they self-motivated? Lots of these things can give people a better opportunity so they can maximise the agile learning, but also show that they've got a learning agility in themselves.
And obviously it begs the question as well, is this something that can be measured? So it's nice, can we look out for these things, but can you actually measure it?
I guess it's looking at strengths, it's looking at personal preferences. What are the key motivators? Do people just want to do this because they want more pay? Do they do it because it's part of that career navigation, that progression? And there's lots of different factors that could tell you if somebody has and will have learning agility.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's a definition of learning agility from this Corn Ferry article. It's worthwhile just reciting. And it says, learning agility is defined as the ability and the willingness to learn from all kinds of experience and use those lessons to perform effectively in new and different situations. So we had an attempt at agile learning and learning agility. There was a really good definition from Corn Ferry, again linked in the article. So defined as the ability and willingness to learn from all kinds of experience. And this is not sitting in the classroom, it's experience as well, experiential knowledge. And get to use that as well to perform effectively in new and different situations, and obviously build productivity and help with business performance as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and it also just to point out as well, it's important to recognise the people who perhaps haven't got the learning agility, and it's not just a case of sheep dip training and development for everyone for the sake of it, because there's a temptation there to do that, but sometimes your investment might be better spent recognising the people who are really going to take it on board. Some people want to come to work and get on with their job and almost do enough to do a good job, but like you said, not necessarily high potentials who really crave this type of opportunity.
Absolutely. So really, when you start thinking about agile learning in your organisation, and think about that knowledge and skills gap, which is going to be a continual gap that you're looking to close, and then looking at the individual's learning agility. And there's a definition for that, and also there's 5 elements to learning agility to look for and potentially measure at some stage in the future as well. So really, from our point of view, think about any sort of proposals and advice that we'd give. Well, you've got to focus on the individual needs. Yeah, you've used the term sheep dip. We use this on a regular basis, and what we mean by that is, when sheep are put through the annual dipping into disinfectant. It's not a very nice visualization, but that's what we mean by sheep dip. Everybody's going through the same treatment. Okay, this needs to be focused on the individual needs, and things like personal development plan. Does somebody actually have one of those? And if they do, is it unique to them? Is there any talent analytics or psychometrics that you use in your organization, engagement, retention reports? Do you run 360 degrees?
Yeah.
So it's linking to that personal expectations again. And we've talked about career navigation. So again, we're at high potentials to help these people with their career navigation. They need to be stimulated. They'll find stimulation anywhere, but to give them more of that, more opportunity to learn on demand. So things that we'd recommend would be online resources, additional online resources that could be targeted to the individual. Yeah, classroom is not defunct. Classroom training is also relevant.
It's got its place.
Of course,
absolutely. You can get some good education and knowledge through classroom type activity. It's completely relevant, but there's more opportunity. Different types of learning. Everyone's different. Everyone has different preferences in terms of their own learning styles. Some people like to listen to podcasts. Some people like to watch videos. Some people like to go online and do things at their own pace. So take an initiative in a different way. So it's trying to factor for, as you mentioned, all the individual needs. And you'd like to think the high potentials will tend to want that anyway. So they'll their preferred style, they'll want the opportunity to use that for their own learning.
Yeah.
So if you're providing them opportunities, then you're just going to get more from them. And if you're not giving them the opportunities, they'll probably look elsewhere to get those opportunities.
Yeah. And other things to consider there as well is, mentors and coaches. High potentials will thrive with a good mentor and or a coach, an executive coach of some sort. So again, just keep thinking about how do you treat those high potentials? What are they going to be looking for? And listen out for that as well during personal development plans and performance management appraisals or career navigation conversations. They've got some expectation. Mentors and coaches will be a great source of learning for high potentials in your organization.
Yeah, and we've spoke about mentors and coaches before in one of the previous videos, and just making that distinction between the mentor and the coach doesn't have to be the same person. You need to consider that mentor internally, but also consider how a coach can fit with someone's personal development as well.
Yeah, I'd probably recommend a bit more firmly that the mentor would probably be the knowledge and the skills side of things. So somebody who knows the business really well, has got the experience, and can offer the knowledge and the skills help. And probably some behavioural help also. Whereas a coach can dig in more to, it's not the skills element, it's the behavioural element.
Yeah.
And this is where a high potential can really broaden their horizon, their scope. And the further the chain of command that we move anywhere, we need to have those behavioural dynamics, explored and developed. So a coach could help certainly with that.
Some of the most successful programs, in some of my experience, in terms of aspiring leader programs or leadership programs, they've been supported by a mentor and a coach.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a clear distinction there. So as a means to round off for today on Agile Learning, an Agile Learning culture would be a recommendation or a call to action for the audience today. And why would you want to do that? Well, if you're looking to grow your people, grow your talents, and grow your business, that knowledge and skills gap is just going to be there all of the time. Yeah, so you need to be thinking about how can we close that gap as fast as possible. Agile learning. We've given the definition for learning agility, and we've talked about agile learning. We want that diversification for the learning styles and just different ways to accommodate the learner. A phrase that we picked up a long time ago, net time, so no extra time. So podcasts are massive these days, okay? Watching a video whilst traveling, reading a book while traveling. There's many different ways to learn without actually spending extra time on it. Even in the work situations, there could be something simple you're doing, but you could be listening to some good instructional material to help you build up your knowledge and your skills particularly. So a lot of the online, on-demand technologies are there now to offer that to high potentials and to the organisation.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to work with a guy who used to get through hours and hours taking his dog for a walk. His podcasts, he couldn't sit and read a book, but he loved the podcasts, and he learned so much and took on board so much information. When he was walking his dog. It's what works for the individual. Provide the opportunities.
Provide the opportunity. I think that's important for the agile learning culture. Have a great training and development plan, excellent. And it might be classroom based, but there's a myriad of ways now to offer in that learning and that development, that agile learning. So those who want it, it's there, and you can encourage that in your culture as well. As we said before, it's going to help with productivity, and it's going to help with business performance.
Yeah, and it helps as well in terms of business constraints, because a lot of people are tight in terms of the head counts and stuff and the resources that they keep. So it can really help to make that flexibility in terms of it's not bringing everybody out into the classroom at the same time. Yeah. People can learn at their own pace and fit it in, more importantly, through working around business constraints at the same time.
Okay, so thank you for listening today, and that's our video on learning agility and agile learning.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, when we talk about agile learning, it's about the culture and the organisation, whereas the learning agility is about the individual.
Thank you.
Thank you.